This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good day. We are getting an update right now on the fatal school shooting at a private elementary school in Nashville today that killed 3 children and 3 staff members. The shooter, a 28-year-old woman, was shot to death by police. That briefing now underway. Let's take you there.
All right, this is our second briefing on this active shooter situation. Speaking to you at this point will be Nashville Chief of Police John Drake, the Director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation David Roush, Nashville District Attorney Glenn Funk, and then Nashville Fire Director Chief William Swan. Again, this is the second briefing. There will be other briefings to be held here in the same spot later this afternoon. We'll continue to brief throughout the rest of the day. Chief Drake.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you all for being here on this very unfortunate situation. My heart and prayers go out to the families of the 6 people who were tragically injured. What I know at this point is at 10:13 today, officers responded to a shots fired call to Covenant School. It's a church school. Officers immediately responded. A team of 5 immediately went in the school, went to where gunshots were being heard, and engaged the suspect. We have identified the suspect right now, tentatively a 28-year-old female white. We know the address of that person as well, and so we have some ongoing investigations as to that. We have 3 adult victims, and we have 3 children who have been identified, and their families have been contacted. Right now, I will refrain from saying the ages, other than to say I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building. I want to say thanks to all of our partners, to the FBI, to the ADF, and other federal partners, to the THP, Tennessee Highway Patrol, the TBI, the District Attorney, and to the Fire Department, who all came together and seamlessly addressed this situation as quickly as possible. I've already gotten requests from the national media about a great response. We're still assessing that as well. But what I can say, and what I've said before, is that whenever I hope that we would never have this situation, that if we ever did, we would not wait. We would immediately go in and we would immediately engage the person perpetrating this horrible crime. And so that's all I can say. Right now we have David Roush, Director of the TBI, who will come after me to address his portion. And then we have others that will say something as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Again, I want to echo what Chief has said in reference to the great support and the great teamwork that has been taking place here, and as well as sending our heartfelt prayers to the families, to this community of these victims. Now, I know there'll be people who want to criticize us for prayers, but that's the way we do that in the South, right? We believe in prayer, and we believe in the power of prayer, and so our prayers go out to these families. The role of the TBI in this investigation is we have been asked by General Funk to assist in the officer-involved portion of this incident. So the incident where the officers engaged the suspect, we are assisting the Metro investigation. And the reason we've got Metro doing the primary investigation is because it was a fluid scene. So there wasn't a single stop in the action. And so as they investigate the homicides, then we felt it was most appropriate for them to continue that investigation. But we will assist as in our role role is an independent oversight on the officer-involved situation. And so that will be the role of TBI. We, too, want to thank all of our partners. It is special. We've had this conversation, unfortunately, too many times in Tennessee, and that is that you wish you wouldn't have to do these types of scenes. But when you do, you want to have the working relationships that we have in our law enforcement community here in Tennessee. It is amazing. And we've all come together as one and working very tirelessly. And we'll continue to work together to address this situation. It's a horrible, senseless tragedy. And we will be here working with our partners to get through it. And next, I'd like to introduce the District Attorney General for this area, Glenn Funk.
This is the ultimate crime when school children and caregivers are the victims of senseless gun violence. Can't say anything before we first express our concerns for the victims and their families and the extended number of victims that are traumatized by today's events. I came out on the scene today because our current operating procedure is that when an officer is involved in a shooting, the TBI comes out, and I knew that this was a unique case, and I wanted to make sure that everything was handled appropriately. Director Roush was out here almost at the exact same time I got here, and Chief Drake had already been on the scene for a while. The three of us met and talked about how the investigation was going to be handled. We made a joint decision affirming what the two law enforcement leaders, how they wanted to proceed, which was that Metro was going to handle the bulk of this, but the TBI would participate in a capacity to continue with making sure that we have transparency and everything, and to make sure that any backup that MNPD needs in this continued investigation would be provided. Can't not stress enough how seamlessly that worked to have a conversation and a decision to be made quickly and appropriately as far as how the case was going to be handled from here. Hats off to Chief Drake and to Director Roush. I also want to thank Chief Swan and our federal partners as well. While I cannot comment about the ongoing nature of the investigation, really impressed with the work that's being done by law enforcement.
Yes, good afternoon. First, let me just say, as everyone else, what a tragic day here in Nashville. So our hearts and our prayers do go out to all the family members and also the first responders that actually made this call. As always, the fire department and Office of Emergency Management, our job is to support. And we were here at the beginning and we'll be here until the end. We just ask that everyone, again, as it was said earlier about prayer, we ask for that. And the ongoing support that's needed from our standpoint is to give support in any area that's asked for on the scene. So again, we thank you, and from this point forward, we'll just continue on with our mission and try to bring some type of closure and resolution. Thank you.
I anticipate there will be another briefing at or before 4 o'clock. We will entertain 2 or 3 questions at this moment before these gentlemen have to go back to the scene to continue their work.
Chief, you identified, did you identify the shooter in this case yet?
Yes, we have identified the suspect. It's a 28-year-old female white, actually a Nashvilleian or lives in the Nashville area. We are having an ongoing investigation as it pertains to her at this time.
Located her place of, where she lived? You have officers there?
We have.
Was she wearing body armor?
Was she wearing body armor? I can't say that far into the investigation. I don't remember seeing it, but I can't say for certain if she had body armor on or not.
Does she have any connection to the church?
From my initial findings is that at one point she was a student at that school, but unsure what year, all of that. But that's what I've been told so far.
Did she give any word on social media
media, or has their social media been examined at this point?
The investigations are still going at this point. Our federal partners, our state partners, we're all looking into that to see exactly. This is still fluid at the time, but we're looking at everything.
Did anybody pull a fire alarm? Do we know?
Don't remember a fire alarm going off. I was told there were kids that evacuated into a wood line. They had the presence of mind to do that and to go to a fire hall. Once we arrived on scene, we had everyone moved to First Baptist Church, Woodmont, and that way we could get parents and children reunited, and then ultimately make the notification on the 3 kids.
Do we know yet if the side door she entered in was locked or not?
There was a door that was entered. All doors were locked to our understanding, and how exactly she got in at this point is still under investigation. There is a vehicle that was nearby that gave us clues as into who she was, and but as stated, that investigation is still ongoing.
Did the school have school shooter protocol?
They did have protocol, to my understanding. We had, unfortunately, 3 kids that were tragically hurt. It could have been far, far worse.
Okay, folks, we'll be back again before 4 o'clock.
The chief of the Nashville Police Department providing an update to today's tragic shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville, a private school. 3 students whose ages have not been released and 3 adult staffers were killed. The shooter, identified as a 28-year-old woman, was killed by police at the scene. We've learned a little bit more information in that briefing just now. Police revealing that she was a former student. She had attended that school at some point, but keep in mind, she was 28. This school, the students only run from preschool to 6th grade, so that's worth noting. Let's go to Steve Patterson right now, who has more for us. Steve?
Yeah, that is certainly the headline from that recent presser. Lester, just to recap what we have so far, again, 3 children killed, 3 staff members, 3 adults killed in that school as well. We also learned a little bit more about the time frame. Police making entry at about 10:13. The shooter, as we know from the previous press conference, was down at about 10:27. Shows you the response there. The 28-year-old suspected shooter carrying 2 assault-style weapons, 1 handgun. Police said in this recent press conference that they know her address and that they have officers there. Obviously, will be central to the investigation to find out her background, which will hopefully lead to a motive, which will give people a little bit more closure in this case. But obviously, they are still on scene as well. The chief also saying that he was moved to tears in just seeing some of the students exit. I'm sure seeing maybe the bodies of the victims that were carried away from the scene as well, and you could see and read the emotion on his face as he was giving this latest briefing. That emotion running throughout that community. We are also hearing from parents and witnesses who knew that school, that private school owned and operated by a church, only about 200 students or so total. One of them was, we believe to be a parent who thought at first that this may have been a bomb threat, and then come to find out that the school was under an active shooting. I want you to listen to this.
Basically, my dad called him to make sure it wasn't, or I thought maybe it was a bomb threat. And then there was so many police cars, and then the ambulances started coming away from the school. And that's when I had heard it was a school shooting, and it's just, there's no words, because they weren't letting the parents up there, so they were just running up the street. Basically, my dad just woke me up this morning and told me that my mom said there was a shooter at the school, and then I texted her and I said just like what was going on. She said she was hiding in the closet and that there was shooting all over, and that they had potentially tried to get into her room, and just that she like loved us, and that they could just hear shooting like all over the school. So
how did that feel when your mom texted you to say that she loved you?
Definitely made me think over some things of just like, you know, I would definitely not want this to be the last time I ever spoke to her. So kind of just made me reflect, and yeah, definitely just like emotional all around, scary, sad, yeah.
Yeah, what has this day been like for you and your family?
Really scary, really sad, just praying for all the families out there, I mean, that are like affected by this so seriously, and yeah, it's just been really scary, honestly, and just unknown.
That last young woman, just to make clear, was the daughter of a teacher whose mother was in that school at the time of the shooting. We're also learning a little bit more, police releasing a little bit more information, saying that the school certainly had protocols in place that could have made this far worse had they not been. That came from that recent news briefing as well, and that the police chief believes that all the doors were locked. So the question then becomes, how did this woman, the suspected shooter, gain access to that side door, make her way up to the first floor, then the second floor, in what appeared to be a lobby area where police engaged her? All part of the investigation, as will be her location. We know her home is under investigation. We know police are at her home, wherever that may be. All will be obviously part of the investigation as police push forward with this.
Yeah, Steve, thanks. Also, police in that last briefing noting that there was a vehicle apparently associated with the suspect parked at the school that provided them some information in terms of helping to collect her identity and get them to that home where the apparently this person, this individual, 28-year-old woman, was from the Nashville area. Let me bring in Carmen Bess. She's a former Seattle chief of police and an NBC law enforcement analyst. Carmen, let me begin with something that the police chief said. Like every chief in America, he's thought through, what if this happens in my jurisdiction? He said they had decided they would not wait. He says we would immediately engage the shooter. Is it fair to say that is the approach now of police departments around the country?
Yeah, Lester, absolutely. So sad that we have yet another mass casualty shooting at another school, but every jurisdiction is preparing, as was stated earlier. Schools are prepared. They have stay-in-place plans and exit plans because we have so many of these shootings. And while we would hope that we never have another one, we also have to prepare and expect that we will. And so every jurisdiction knows to immediately go in and immediately try to take out the threat.
The shooter in this case apparently had two what were described as assault-style weapons. We don't know the weapons the police officers were carrying, but chances are it was a handgun. Can you help people understand what it is like to engage someone with a long gun when your only weapon is a handgun?
Well, yeah, you're definitely coming into the battle less well-equipped, for sure, and much more at risk. I will say that most agencies now do have rifle officers. Some have all the officers equipped. I know in Seattle, many of the officers are equipped, and they would have them come out immediately, as well as your SWAT team, to respond immediately because they have that extra capacity gear to address assault rifles if you encounter them. But certainly, either way, it's very dangerous, no matter what you're armed with. But that's what law enforcement is trained to do, and that's why they come in immediately to take action.
All right, Carmen Bess, thank you for coming on with us. We'll ask you to stand by. Let me go to Kelly O'Donnell right now at the White House, where just a few minutes ago, President Biden voiced his reaction to this shooting today.
Good afternoon, Lester. The president, of course, extended his concern and prayers and also used this moment as a way to talk about reforms that he believes Congress must take to try to stem the flow of weapons in this country. He's been in touch with the Department of Justice and local officials, briefed on the shooting and acknowledging that there's still a lot left to learn. But a short time ago at his only public event today, the president wanted to talk about this in terms both emotional and practical about what he would like to see take place in the wake of this deadly shooting in Nashville. Here's the president.
It's just, it's sick. You know, we're still gathering the facts of what happened and why. And we do know that as of now, there are a number of people who did not make it, including children. It's heartbreaking, a family's worst nightmare. And I want to commend the police who responded incredibly swiftly, within minutes, and the danger. We're monitoring the situation really closely, Ben, as you know, and we have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of the nation. And we have to do more to protect our schools so they aren't turned into prisons. You know, the shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban. It's about time that we begin to make some more progress, but there's more to learn. But I just wanted to send my concern and hearts out to so many parents out there. I've been to so many of these sites, as Ben knows, by virtually every one. And,
the White House says the president has taken all the steps he can through executive actions, which is why he is again calling on Congress to do more. Earlier today, the First Lady was at her own event and said that the children of our country deserve better than this. Lester?
And Kelly, every time we go through this, the sidebar conversation is assault weapons. Where do we stand in right now? You said that the White House can only go so far with executive actions. Is there any discussion right now in furtherance of this bill?
Well, certainly the White House has put together legislation, but politically it is very difficult, and we are, of course, getting closer and closer to election season, which makes that more difficult. And there have been other instances where deeply painful experiences, where you talk about Uvalde, or you go back even a decade ago, and it was Sandy Hook, where those real-life experiences could have brought about change, but did not. And so the president and his advocates will again try, but there doesn't seem to be political will on Capitol Hill.
All
Lester?
right, Kelly O'Donnell at the White House on this sad day. Thank you. We'll have updates continuing throughout the afternoon on NBC News Now, MSNBC, and a full report tonight when I see you for NBC Nightly News. For now, I'm Lester Holt in New York. Good day, everyone.
Deal.